My child, I want to speak to you today about something that pressure has been draining from you quietly. Something has been taken from you while you kept going, while you kept showing up, while you kept carrying what felt necessary, while you kept telling yourself that you would rest later, breathe later, feel later, recover later. It was not taken all at once. It did not announce itself loudly. It happened slowly, beneath the surface of your ordinary days, in the unseen places where your soul learned to keep moving, even when it was tired. I have seen the way constant pressure has worn down your peace. I have seen the way it has touched your softness, the way it has made you quicker to brace, quicker to guard, quicker to expect demand instead of welcome. I have seen how your thoughts have become crowded, how clear thinking has felt harder, how decisions that once felt simple now feel heavy, how even small responsibilities can feel like they are standing on top of a deeper exhaustion you cannot fully explain. I have seen the way patient love has been stretched thin, not because you stopped caring, but because something in you has been carrying too much for too long. And I have seen how your spiritual sensitivity has been affected. You have wondered why prayer feels harder, why stillness feels foreign, why listening feels crowded, why your heart feels quieter than it used to. But I am telling you, this is not because I have moved away from you. This is not because you have failed me. This is not because your soul is beyond repair. Much of what you have called spiritual dullness has been the noise of chronic strain. Much of what you have called weakness has been depletion. Much of what you have called inconsistency has been the fruit of a life that has been pressed beyond the rhythm I designed for it. So I am not speaking to you today about the idea of rest as a distant concept, as something beautiful in theory but impossible in your real life. I am speaking to you about the actual receiving of rest. Rest in your body, where your shoulders do not have to remain lifted like they are holding up the world. Rest in your mind, where every unfinished thing does not have to keep circling for permission to condemn you. Rest in your soul, where you remember that you are held before you are useful. Rest in your schedule, where space is not treated as waste, but as a sacred place where I restore what pressure has drained. Your rest is not weakness. It is not laziness. It is not failure. It is not spiritual defeat. It is not proof that you are falling behind. It is not evidence that you are less devoted, less disciplined, less capable, or less faithful than the people around you who appear to keep going without pause. My child, I want you to hear me clearly before we go any further. Rest has not disappeared from your life because you are weak. Rest has been stolen by pressure, by fear, by expectation, by survival, by the belief that you must keep proving you deserve to exist, to be loved, to be helped, to be blessed. And I am calling it back. I am calling rest back into your life as something holy, something protected, something no longer buried beneath guilt. I am calling back the breath you lost while you were trying to manage everything. I am calling back the tenderness that got hidden behind responsibility. I am calling back the quiet places in you that were never meant to be trampled by constant urgency. I am calling back the part of you that knows how to receive without apologizing for needing to be restored. Before this message goes deeper, let your heart answer. If your heart needs permission to stop striving, like this video, as a simple agreement that you are ready to hear truth louder than pressure. Subscribe for more God-centered messages of restoration, because I am teaching you how to live from my care and not from constant exhaustion. And type in the comments, I receive your rest, Lord. Let it be more than words. Let it be a declaration before the main message begins. Let your soul say it even if guilt is still speaking. I receive your rest, Lord. I receive what pressure tried to steal. I receive what you are calling back into my life. And now I want to speak to the guilt that rises the moment you begin to rest. I want to speak to the voice that comes quickly, almost automatically, before your body can even soften, before your breath can even settle, before your mind can even believe that stillness is allowed. The voice that says, you should be doing more. The voice that says, this is irresponsible. The voice that says, other people are working harder than you. The voice that says, if you stop, you will fall behind. The voice that says, if you rest, you are selfish. If you are tired, you are weak. If you need space, you are failing. If you cannot keep carrying everything without pause, then someone else must be more faithful, more disciplined, more pleasing to me than you. My child, I have heard that voice. I have heard it. I have heard it when you sit down and feel guilty before your body can even soften. I have heard it when you finally have a quiet moment and your thoughts immediately begin listing what remains undone. I have heard it when you try to sleep and your mind turns rest into a courtroom. I have heard it when you take one afternoon, 1 hour, one slow breath, and something inside you starts accusing you as though you have committed a crime. I have heard it in the pressure in your chest, in the tightness in your jaw, in the way your shoulders lift again even when nothing is physically in your hands. But I want you to know this. That accusing voice is not my voice. The voice that shames you for being human is not my voice. The voice that demands endless proving is not my voice. The voice that tells you rest must be earned by complete exhaustion is not my voice. The voice that says you may only stop when there is nothing left to do is not my voice. I do not speak to my children by crushing their breath out of them. I do not guide you by making your soul frantic. I do not correct you by making you hate your limits. My conviction leads to life. My conviction brings alignment. My conviction may be firm, but it carries hope. It leads you back into truth, back into obedience, back into peace, back into the kind of wholeness where your heart can breathe again. Shame does something different. Shame drives and drives and drives, but it never restores. Shame keeps moving the finish line. Shame says, do more, and then when you do more, it says, it was not enough. Shame says, prove yourself, and then when you prove yourself, it says, prove it again tomorrow. Shame does not allow the soul to breathe, because shame is not interested in healing you. Shame is interested in controlling you. It keeps you frantic because frantic people are easier to manipulate than rested people. It keeps you afraid because afraid people mistake pressure for wisdom. It keeps you comparing because comparison makes rest feel irresponsible when someone else appears to be producing more, carrying more, giving more, enduring more. Some of this voice came from old wounds. Some of it came from places where love felt connected to performance, where approval arrived when you achieved, helped, behaved, succeeded, stayed useful, stayed strong, stayed easy to praise. Some of it came from environments where everything was urgent, where needs were loud, where slowing down was criticized, where your nervous system learned that peace was not safe because interruption was always coming. Some of it came from survival seasons, when stopping really did feel dangerous because there was no margin, no backup, no room for weakness, and you learned to push past the signals in your body because you believed you had no other choice. I saw those seasons. I saw what they required of you. I saw how you adapted. I saw how you became capable under pressure, and I also saw what pressure took from you while everyone else was praising your strength. And some of this voice came from comparison. You looked at others and assumed their pace was proof of their faithfulness. You saw their output, their consistency, their energy, their public fruit, and you quietly measured yourself against what you could see without knowing what I was asking of them, without knowing what they were carrying, without knowing what was hidden beneath the surface of their life. Comparison taught you to treat your rest as evidence against you. Comparison made someone else's rhythm into a law over your body. But I did not design you to be governed by another person's capacity. I did not ask you to copy someone else's assignment, someone else's pace, someone else's season, someone else's measure of strength. Listen to me carefully. The guilt that rises when you rest is often not discernment. It is often an old accusation wearing spiritual language. It sounds responsible, but it is rooted in fear. It sounds disciplined, but it is rooted in shame. It sounds like stewardship, but it is often the echo of a wound that taught you your needs were inconvenient. I am not asking you to ignore wisdom. I am not asking you to abandon responsibility. I am not asking you to neglect the people entrusted to your care or walk away from what love requires. I am asking you to stop confusing responsibility with endless self-erasure. I am asking you to stop calling burnout obedience. I am asking you to stop calling depletion faithfulness. I am asking you to stop offering me a version of yourself that has been stripped of tenderness, breath, attention, and joy, as though I am pleased by the destruction of the one I love. Bring that accusing voice into my presence. Do not hide it. Do not argue with it alone in the secret places of your mind. Bring me the sentence that shames you. Bring me the fear beneath it. Bring me the old memory attached to it. Bring me the belief that says, you must justify every pause, explain every boundary, defend every need, and apologize for every moment of restoration. Let me answer it. Let my truth speak louder than the accusation. You are not lazy because you need rest. You are not selfish because you have limits. You are not irresponsible because you cannot be endlessly available. You are not less faithful because your body asks to recover. You are mine, and I do not accuse what I created. I restore it. I designed you with a rhythm. I did not design you with a machine's limitlessness. I did not form you to run endlessly, produce endlessly, respond endlessly, carry endlessly, and then call that faithfulness. I made you with breath that must slow down. I made you with eyelids that must close. I made you with a mind that must be renewed, a heart that must be tended, emotions that must be processed, a body that must be restored, attention that must be gathered again after being scattered by noise and demand. None of this is an accident. None of this is evidence that something is wrong with you. It is evidence that you are human, and being human was never a failure in my eyes. Your limits are not an embarrassment to me. I am not surprised by them. I am not frustrated that you need sleep. I am not disappointed that your strength rises and falls. I am not offended that your soul cannot remain open, tender, discerning, patient, and joyful while being driven without pause. I made you from dust and breathed life into you, and I knew exactly what I was making. I did not create you as a disembodied worker. I did not create you as a task list with a soul attached. I did not create you as an instrument of output that only matters when it is useful. I created you as my beloved, and into your beloved humanity I placed rhythm. Look at creation itself, evening and morning, seasons and cycles, seed time and harvest, waking and sleeping, labor and cessation, fruitfulness and dormancy. The earth does not apologize for winter. The soil does not repent for needing time beneath the surface. The fields do not call themselves lazy when they are not always producing visible harvest. There is a wisdom in rhythm that pressure does not understand, and there is a holiness in receiving the season I have appointed, instead of demanding that every part of your life produce at once. When I rested on the seventh day, I was not depleted. I was not exhausted. I was not recovering from weakness. I did not rest because creation had drained me. I rested because I was establishing a sacred pattern. I was showing you that completion is not proven by immediate continuation. I was teaching you that even after good work, even after fruitful work, even after work that I called good, there is a holy stop. There is a blessed pause. There is a sacred boundary that says the work is not your God, the demand is not your master, and productivity is not the source of your identity. This is why your need for rest must not be treated as a flaw in the design. It is part of the design. It is woven into the architecture of being human and beloved. You were not made to live as though renewal is optional. You were not made to spend yourself down to nothing and then wonder why your joy has become thin, why your compassion has become strained, why your mind has become foggy, why your prayers have become hurried, why your body has become loud with signals you keep trying to silence. I gave you rhythms because I love you. I gave you limits because you are not me, and I never asked you to be me. I am the one who never sleeps or slumbers. You are the one I hold while you sleep. Pressure has taught a different rhythm. Pressure says, produce until you collapse. Pressure says, rest only when you have earned it. Pressure says, keep going until your body forces you to stop, and then feel guilty while you recover. Pressure says, your worth rises when you are needed and falls when you are unavailable. Pressure says, do not pause before the work is finished, even when the work keeps expanding and the finish line keeps moving. But I do not lead you by the rhythm of pressure. I lead you by covenant. Pressure says collapse, then recover enough to return to striving. Covenant says receive, then return to the work from a place of being held. Do you see the difference, my child? One rhythm treats you like a resource to be used up. The other treats you like a beloved one to be restored. One rhythm waits until you break down before it gives you permission to stop. The other calls you to stop before collapse becomes your teacher. One rhythm says your value is proven by how much you can bear without needing help. The other says your value was settled before you carried anything at all. I am not inviting you into escape. I am inviting you into obedience to the way I made you. Rest is not abandonment of purpose. Rest is not running away from your calling. Rest is not indifference to responsibility. Rest is obedience to design. Rest is the humble agreement that you are created, not infinite. Rest is the faith that says, I can stop because God does not. Rest is the trust that says, I can receive before I return. Rest is the surrender that says, I do not have to violate the way I was made in order to prove I am devoted to the one who made me. So let this truth settle deeper than your old conditioning. Your need for rest is not evidence that something is wrong with you. Your need for rest is evidence that you were created with a holy rhythm. You were made to breathe, to sleep, to pause, to receive, to be renewed, to return with strength that has been restored instead of strength that has been forced. And when you honor that rhythm, you are not stepping away from me. You are stepping into agreement with me. You are letting my design speak louder than the pressure that tried to rename your limits as failure. And now I want to speak to the measuring system that has been placed around you so long that you began to mistake it for truth. The world you live in has called output worth. It has trained you to look at a day and decide whether it was good by how much was completed, how much was answered, how much was produced, how much was fixed, how much was visible, how much could be counted. It has taught you to feel satisfied only when the list is shorter, only when the messages are cleared, only when the work can be seen, only when the results can be explained to someone else. And slowly, quietly, that measuring system tried to move from your schedule into your identity. My child, I want you to see how subtle this has been. A task remained unfinished, and it did not simply feel like an unfinished task. It began to feel like an unfinished you. A message went unanswered, and it did not simply feel like a message waiting for response. It began to feel like proof that you were failing someone. A problem remained unresolved, and it did not simply feel like a problem that needed time, wisdom, or support. It began to feel like evidence that you were not enough. This is what pressure does when it is allowed to define you. It turns responsibility into identity. It turns work into worth. It turns productivity into a mirror, and then tells you to judge your own value by what you see there. But I never measured you that way. I never looked at you and counted your output before deciding whether you were mine. I never waited for you to become useful before I called you beloved. I never waited for your inbox to be empty, your assignments to be complete, your house to be ordered, your emotions to be manageable, your plans to be successful, your service to be impressive, your life to be easy to explain. I called you mine before you accomplished anything. I loved you before you could prove anything. I held you before you could offer anything. Your belonging did not begin when you became productive, and it will not end when you need to rest. Hear me clearly. You are my child before you answer another message. You are my child before you complete another assignment. You are my child before you solve another problem. You are my child before you serve another person. You are my child before you become available again. You are my child before the next achievement, before the next obligation, before the next measurable result, before the next moment where someone thanks you for being strong. Your identity is not waiting on the other side of performance. Your identity is already held in me. The world has a way of honoring the exhausted person as long as the exhaustion keeps producing something useful. It praises availability. It praises speed. It praises the one who can carry more, respond faster, stay later, push harder, and smile while doing it. But it rarely asks what is being drained beneath the surface. It rarely asks what happens to the soul that only feels valuable when needed. It rarely asks what becomes of the heart that has learned to confuse being loved with being useful. It rarely asks what is lost when a person no longer knows how to sit in my presence without reaching for a task to justify being there. Pressure drains more than energy. It drains identity. It makes you forget the sound of your name without a demand attached to it. It makes you feel restless when no one needs you, as though silence is rejection and stillness is irrelevance. It makes you wonder who you are when you are not helping, not fixing, not performing, not managing, not producing, not holding everything together. And when that question begins to frighten you, my child, I do not shame you for it. I draw near to the place where pressure has confused you, and I remind you again of what has always been true. You are not valuable because you are needed. You are valuable because you are mine. There is a kind of bondage that hides inside usefulness. It looks noble from the outside, and sometimes it is mixed with genuine love, genuine responsibility, genuine calling, genuine obedience. But when usefulness becomes the only place where you feel secure, your soul begins to live under a burden I did not place on you. then rest feels dangerous because rest removes the evidence you have been using to prove your worth. Stillness feels uncomfortable because there is no visible output to defend it. Quiet feels suspicious because no one can applaud what I am healing in secret. But I am not asking you to defend your rest to the measuring system that wounded you. I am asking you to receive your identity from me. Let the unfinished things return to their proper size. An unfinished task is not an unfinished soul. An unanswered message is not a rejected calling. A delayed result is not a diminished identity. A day with less visible output is not a wasted day if your body has been restored, if your mind has been steadied, if your heart has remembered truth, if your soul has rested in my care. The world may not know how to count that kind of fruit, but I do. The world may not know how to honor what happens in hidden restoration, but I do. The world may only praise what can be displayed, measured, and compared, but I see the quiet rebuilding of the one I love. I am restoring the part of you that knows how to be loved without performing. I am restoring the part of you that can receive kindness without immediately trying to earn it. I am restoring the part of you that can sit with me without apologizing for not doing more. I am restoring the part of you that remembers love is not a wage and belonging is not a reward. You do not have to work your way into my affection. You do not have to keep proving that my choice of you was wise. You do not have to become endlessly useful to remain safely held. So when pressure tells you that your worth is falling because your output has slowed, answer it with truth. My worth is not measured by what I produce. When guilt tells you that rest must be defended, answer it with truth. I am allowed to receive what God designed. When fear tells you that you will be forgotten if you are not needed, answer it with truth. I am already known, already loved, already held. Let that declaration go deeper than the old measuring system. Let it reach the place where you learn to perform for love. Let it reach the place where usefulness became your safety. Let it reach the place where unfinished work has been trying to accuse your identity. You are mine. Before the work, you are mine. After the work, you are mine. In the fruitful season, you are mine. In the quiet season, you are mine. When you are strong, you are mine. When you are tired, you are mine. When much is visible, you are mine. When restoration is hidden, you are mine. And as you receive this, the grip of pressure will begin to loosen. Not because every responsibility disappears, but because responsibility will no longer be allowed to define the beloved one carrying it. And now, I want to speak to the body you have been trying to silence. I want to speak to the heaviness you keep explaining away, the numbness you keep calling normal, the short patience that has frightened you because you remember when your heart felt softer, the scattered thoughts that make simple things feel harder than they used to feel, the shallow breathing that has become so familiar you hardly notice it anymore, the emotional flatness that makes joy feel distant, and the constant inner hurry that keeps moving inside you even when your hands are finally still. My child, your body has been telling the truth, your schedule ignored. It has been speaking in the only language it could speak when your calendar would not make room for honesty. It has been saying, this pace is costing you. It has been saying, something needs care. It has been saying, you cannot keep pouring out without receiving. It has been saying, you were not made to live, braced every hour, alert every moment, available every time demand calls your name. And I do not want you to despise the signals that are asking for restoration. I do not want you to treat your body like an enemy because it finally told the truth. Your body is not the enemy of your faith. Your body is not betraying your calling. Your body is not proof that you are less spiritual than you should be. Often, it is the place where the truth of overextension becomes visible. Often, it is the place where the hidden cost of pressure begins to rise to the surface. Often, it is the first part of you brave enough to say what your mouth has not been allowed to say. I am tired. I am overwhelmed. I need quiet. I need space. I need to be restored. And I am not offended by that truth. I am not offended by the honesty of the body I made. Do not spiritualize every sign of exhaustion into failure. Do not assume that because you are tired, you must be rebellious. Do not assume that because you need quiet, you must be weak. Do not assume that because you feel emotionally thin, you must be cold-hearted. Do not assume that because your thoughts are scattered, you must be careless. There are times when the soul needs correction, yes, and I know how to correct what needs correcting. But there are also times when the soul needs rest, when the mind needs quiet, when the body needs recovery, when the nervous system needs to come down from constant alertness, when your attention needs to be gathered back from all the places pressure has scattered it. I see the way strain has trained your body to expect interruption. I see how even silence can feel unsafe because your system is waiting for the next request, the next problem, the next disappointment, the next thing you must manage. I see how your shoulders rise without permission. I see how your jaw tightens while you are trying to be strong. I see how your breath becomes small when life feels too large. I see how your heart has learned to hurry, even in rooms where no one is chasing you. And I am not here to shame you for those responses. I am here to meet you in them. So pause with me for a moment, not later, not after everything is finished. Now, let your jaw loosen. Let your tongue rest. Let your shoulders lower from the place where they have been trying to carry what was never meant to sit there. Take one slow breath, not as a performance, not as a technique to prove anything, but as a small agreement with my care. Breathe in slowly, release slowly. Let your body hear what your soul has been afraid to believe. You may stop for a moment. You may stop for a moment. You may stop without being condemned. You may breathe without apologizing. You may receive without immediately turning this pause into another assignment. There is restoration I want to bring to the places pressure has drained, and those places are not only spiritual in the way you have imagined. I am restoring what strain has drained from your attention, so you can be present again without feeling pulled in every direction. I am restoring what constant urgency has drained from your emotional capacity, so love does not feel like one more demand pressing against an empty place. I am restoring what survival has drained from your nervous system, so peace can become familiar again instead of suspicious. I am restoring what overextension has drained from your body, so your strength can return without being forced, and your breath can deepen without fear. You have asked me to restore your soul, and I am, but I am not restoring your soul by ignoring the body that has carried so much of your story. I restore you as a whole person. I care about your spirit, and I care about your breath. I care about your prayers, and I care about your sleep. I care about your obedience, and I care about the way your hands tremble after too much pressure. I care about your calling, and I care about the vessel through which that calling is lived. I will not require you to despise your humanity in order to prove your devotion. Listen to me clearly. Your body is not betraying your calling. It is revealing where I want to restore what pressure drained. It is showing you where tenderness is needed. It is showing you where rhythm must return. It is showing you where the pace has been too costly, where the demands have become too loud, where the inner hurry has been mistaken for faithfulness. Do not punish the messenger. Bring the truth to me. Bring the heaviness. Bring the numbness. Bring the shallow breath. Bring the short patience. Bring the scattered mind. Bring the quiet ache that says you have been going too long without being replenished. And as you bring it, I will not turn away. I will teach you how to listen without fear. I will teach you how to rest without shame. I will teach you how to honor the signals before collapse becomes the only language left. I will meet you in the stillness you have avoided. I will restore the places you have overridden. I will soften what pressure made tense, steady what pressure made frantic, and gather what pressure scattered. You are not only a worker in my kingdom, you are my beloved child, embodied, held, known, and worthy of care. And now I want to name the lies that made stopping feel dangerous, because what remains unnamed often keeps ruling quietly. I want to bring into the light the sentences that have been pressing against your chest every time you try to rest. I want to expose the voice that has made you feel guilty for receiving what I designed you to need. These lies have sounded practical. They have sounded responsible. They have sounded urgent. Some of them have even sounded spiritual. But my child, a lie does not become truth because it has been repeated for a long time, and an accusation does not become discernment because it uses the language of responsibility. The first lie is this: rest must be earned after everything is finished. It says, when the work is done, then you may stop. When everyone is satisfied, then you may breathe. When every task is complete, every problem is solved, every need is answered, every loose end is tied, then you may receive rest without guilt. But look at what that lie does. It moves rest farther away every time life expands. It makes restoration dependent on a finish line that keeps moving. It tells you that care for your own soul is a prize for perfect completion, not a part of faithful living. I want to dismantle this lie at its foundation. Rest is not a trophy given to the person who finally did enough. Rest is part of faithful stewardship. You do not rest because everything is finished. You rest because you are finite, beloved, and entrusted to your own care under my hand. The second lie is this: if you stop, everything will fall apart. This lie has carried fear in its mouth. It has told you that your pause will become disaster, that your absence will become collapse, that your release will expose everything you failed to hold. It says, keep gripping, keep managing, keep watching, keep answering, keep carrying. Do not loosen your hands, because the whole thing depends on you. My child, I know there are real responsibilities in your life. I know there are people, needs, assignments, and burdens that matter. I am not dismissing the weight of what has been entrusted to you, but I am telling you the truth. You are not the sustainer of all things. I am. You can be faithful without being frantic. You can be responsible without believing you are sovereign. You can release what belongs in my hands and still return with wisdom to what belongs in yours. I can sustain what you release. The third lie is this: people who need you will be disappointed if you rest. This lie has been especially painful because it has attached itself to love. It says, if you really loved them, you would always be available. If you really cared, you would always answer. If you really were kind, strong, faithful, generous, and dependable, you would never need space. But love was never meant to destroy the vessel through which it flows. Love is not proven by self-erasure. Love is not measured by how long you ignore your own depletion. Love is not made holy by the collapse of the one giving it. I have called you to love others, yes, but I have not called you to become empty in a way that hardens you, exhausts you, and makes tenderness feel impossible. Boundaries do not mean you have stopped loving. Rest does not mean you have abandoned people. Sometimes rest protects the very love you want to keep giving. The fourth lie is this: rest is unspiritual. It says that prayer matters, service matters, sacrifice matters, but rest is somehow lesser, softer, suspicious, too human to be holy. It says that the truly devoted do not need withdrawal, quiet, meals, sleep, solitude, or replenishment. But, my child, look at Jesus. He carried the greatest mission, and still he withdrew. He was surrounded by need, and still he went to lonely places to pray. He was followed by crowds, and still he made space. He was in the storm, and he slept. He fed others, and he ate. He healed, taught, served, wept, walked, paused, and received the limits of a human body without sinning against his purpose. He did not confuse urgency with obedience. He did not let every demand become his master. If my beloved son did not treat human rhythm as spiritual failure, why have you been calling your need for rest unspiritual? The fifth lie is this: you are behind, and you must punish yourself with more pressure. This lie says the only way to recover lost time is to become harsher with yourself. It says if you are tired, push harder. If you are overwhelmed, demand more. If you have fallen behind, withdraw compassion from yourself until you catch up. But pressure does not always produce obedience. Sometimes pressure produces confusion. Sometimes it produces haste, resentment, shallow decisions, distracted service, and a heart too tense to hear my voice clearly. Restoration is not wasted time. Restoration often makes obedience clearer, wiser, and more fruitful. When you are restored, you can discern what actually matters. You can move without panic. You can serve without bitterness. You can say yes without fear and no without shame. You can return with a steadier spirit and a clearer mind. So bring these lies to me one by one. Bring the lie that says rest must be earned. Bring the lie that says everything depends on you. Bring the lie that says love requires your depletion. Bring the lie that says rest is unspiritual. Bring the lie that says you must punish yourself because you feel behind. Do not negotiate with them in the dark. Do not let them keep speaking as though they are my voice. I am naming them because I am replacing them. Rest is stewardship. I sustain what you release. Love does not require self-destruction. Holy purpose requires holy rhythm. Restoration can make your obedience more fruitful. Let this truth begin to answer the fear in your body. Let it answer the guilt in your thoughts. Let it answer the old training that told you stopping was dangerous. The lies around rest lose power when I name them directly and replace them with truth. And I am speaking truth over you now. You may stop before everything is finished. You may release what you cannot sustain. You may love without disappearing. You may rest without becoming less spiritual. You may receive restoration without punishing yourself first. I am not waiting for you at the end of your exhaustion. I am meeting you here, in the place where the lies are being dismantled and your soul is learning to breathe again. And now I want you to understand something deeper about rest, because until you understand what happens there, you will keep treating it like empty space. You will keep thinking of rest as the absence of usefulness, the absence of progress, the absence of obedience, the absence of spiritual seriousness. But my child, rest is not the absence of my work. Very often, rest is the place where my restoring work becomes possible, because it is the place where you finally stop gripping long enough to receive what you could not produce for yourself. Rest is not avoidance. It is not denial. It is not laziness. It is not abandoning duty. It is not pretending your life has no demands, no people, no responsibilities, no unfinished assignments, no real pressures pressing against the edges of your day. I am not calling you into numbness. I am not calling you into carelessness. I am not asking you to close your eyes to what matters or to walk away from what I have truly entrusted to you. False rest escapes reality and returns you unchanged. True rest brings reality into my presence and lets me reorder what pressure has distorted. True rest does not say, nothing matters. True rest says, God matters most, and because He is present, I do not have to carry everything as though I am alone. Rest is the intentional choosing to stop striving long enough to let me restore, speak, reorder, heal, and strengthen. It is the holy pause where your hands loosen, not because nothing is important, but because I am Lord over what is important. It is the sacred stopping where you admit that your constant motion has not been saving you. It is the quiet agreement that you are not sustained by panic, not led by hurry, not healed by overthinking, not secured by control, not made righteous by exhaustion. It is where you let me touch what busyness has been covering. It is where you let me speak beneath the noise. It is where you let me put first things back in first place. There are things I do in you that cannot be rushed by your striving. There are things I heal when your body is still and your defenses are no longer performing strength. There are things I reveal when the room grows quiet enough for you to notice what has been hidden under constant demand. There are burdens I lift when you stop calling them normal. There are fears I expose when you stop numbing them with motion. There are wounds I tend when you stop using productivity to avoid feeling them. Busyness can cover pain. Busyness can cover fear. Busyness can cover grief, disappointment, resentment, confusion, loneliness, and the quiet ache of a soul that has gone too long without being held. But rest makes room for truth to rise, and I am not afraid of the truth that rises there. I have told you that I restore the soul. I did not say I merely applaud the soul that keeps moving. I restore it. I bring it back from fragmentation. I gather what has been scattered. I return breath to places that have been strained. I lead beside still waters, not only beside productive waters, not only beside urgent waters, not only beside waters where you can prove something to someone else. I know how to restore the parts of you that do not know how to restore themselves. I know how to give rest to the weary. I know how to invite the burdened one to come, not to perform, not to explain, not to justify exhaustion, but to receive. I know how to place upon you a yoke that is easy and a burden that is light, not because life contains no weight, but because you were never meant to carry weight disconnected from my presence. Be still and know, not be frantic and know, not be endlessly available and know, not be in control of every outcome and know, be still and know that I am God. Stillness is not passive when it is filled with trust. Stillness is not empty when it is filled with my presence. Stillness is not wasted when it becomes the place where your soul remembers who holds all things together. There is a knowing that cannot be reached through hurry. There is a knowing that does not come from another completed task. There is a knowing that settles only when striving quiets, when the heart stops rehearsing every possible disaster, when the mind stops demanding evidence before it will release control. This is the trust issue beneath your exhaustion. Rest asks you to believe that I remain active when you are not. Rest asks you to believe that I am not limited to the hours where your hands are moving. Rest asks you to believe that my care does not pause when your effort pauses. Rest asks you to believe that I can work in hidden places, in hearts you cannot manage, in circumstances you cannot force, in timing you cannot accelerate, in outcomes you cannot secure by worry. It asks you to lay down the illusion that constant involvement equals greater safety. It asks you to surrender the belief that if you stop thinking about it, holding it, checking it, fixing it, managing it, then it will fall outside my reach. My child, nothing falls outside my reach because you rested. Nothing becomes too difficult for me because you slept. Nothing escapes my sight because you closed your eyes. Nothing becomes less loved by me because you stepped away long enough to breathe. You are not keeping the world alive by refusing restoration. You are not protecting everyone by living without peace. You are not proving faithfulness by acting as though my work depends entirely on your depletion. I am active in the night. I am active in the quiet. I am active while you recover. I am active while you are unable to see visible movement. I am active in ways your anxiety cannot measure and your calendar cannot contain. So let rest become a place of surrender instead of a place of guilt. Let it become the room where you bring me the unfinished and say, I trust you here. Let it become the altar where control is laid down, not dramatically for others to see, but quietly, honestly, repeatedly. Let it become the place where your soul learns that release is not failure. Let it become the place where you stop rehearsing the lie that everything depends on you and begin practicing the truth that I am faithful while you are finite. When you rest, I am not absent. I am restoring. I am speaking. I am reordering. I am healing. I am strengthening. I am loosening what pressure tightened. I am softening what fear hardened. I am separating your identity from the demands attached to it. I am teaching your body that peace is safe. I am teaching your mind that stillness is not danger. I am teaching your soul that my love does not require your constant motion. Rest is where you release control, and it is where you discover that my hands were never closed, never tired, never frantic, never absent. I am working while you rest. Receive that truth, and let your soul breathe again. Look at Jesus, my child. Look at the one who carried purpose without panic, authority without hurry, compassion without surrendering himself to every demand. Look at the one who was never careless, never selfish, never indifferent to pain, never untouched by human need, and yet he did not live enslaved to constant access. He withdrew from crowds. He prayed in solitary places. He slept in the storm. He said to his disciples, "Come away by yourselves and rest for a while." He did not treat rest as disobedience. He did not treat withdrawal as failure. He did not confuse the presence of need with the command to answer every need immediately. There were crowds around him, real crowds, hurting crowds, desperate crowds, people with sickness in their bodies, torment in their minds, hunger in their stomachs, questions in their hearts, grief in their homes. There were always more people who could have been healed, more questions that could have been answered, more accusations that could have been confronted, more roads that could have been walked, more needs that could have filled every hour of every day. And still, Jesus withdrew. Not because he lacked love, not because he lacked power, not because he was avoiding purpose. He withdrew because even holy mission was lived in holy rhythm. I want you to let that settle deeply. The Son did not bow to every demand around him. He listened to the Father. He moved from communion, not from pressure. He served from obedience, not from frantic reaction. He could feel the urgency around him without letting urgency become his master. He could see suffering without losing alignment. He could be interrupted with compassion, yes. But he was not controlled by the expectation that every human desire around him had the authority to define his pace. His life was not empty of pressure, but pressure did not become his Lord. This matters for you, because you have often believed that the most urgent thing must be the most obedient thing. You have believed that the loudest need must be my clearest instruction. You have believed that if someone is disappointed, you must have done something wrong. You have believed that if there is still work remaining, still a message unanswered, still a problem unsolved, still a person needing something from you, then stopping would be unfaithful. But, my child, not every need is your assignment. Not every request is your responsibility. Not every urgent demand is my voice. Some things are real, and still not yours to carry in that moment. Some needs matter deeply and still must be entrusted to me. Some expectations will have to be disappointed so your soul can remain aligned with what I actually asked of you. Jesus disappointed false expectations. He did. There were people who wanted him to stay when he moved on. There were people who wanted him to perform when he remained silent. There were people who wanted him to seize a kind of power he had not come to carry. There were people who misunderstood his pace, his boundaries, his timing, his obedience. And he did not adjust his life to keep every expectation comfortable. He remained with the Father. He rose early to pray. He stepped away from noise. He entered lonely places. He rested with his disciples. He lived from the hidden place, and because he lived from the hidden place, his public obedience carried clarity instead of compulsion. Do you see what I am showing you? Rest is not the enemy of purpose. Rest protects purpose from being distorted by pressure. Solitude is not abandonment, it is alignment. Sleep is not spiritual carelessness. It is trust embodied. Quiet is not wasted time. It is where the soul becomes able to hear again. The storm was real when Jesus slept. The waves were real. The fear of the disciples was real. But his sleep was not proof that he did not care. His sleep revealed a deeper reality. Peace was present in the boat before the storm was finished. Rest can exist before every circumstance is calm, because rest is not built on the absence of storms. It is built on the presence of the Father. And when Jesus invited his disciples to come away and rest for a while, he did not wait until the world stopped needing them. He did not say, "Come away after every crowd is satisfied. Come away after every demand is gone. Come away after there is no more need, no more grief, no more hunger, no more pressure, no more unfinished work." He said "Come away, rest for a while." He knew their bodies needed recovery. He knew their souls needed space. He knew that faithful servants can become weary servants, and weary servants need tenderness, not accusation. He knew that those who pour out must also receive, and that receiving is not a betrayal of the mission. So stop treating exhaustion as proof of devotion. Stop calling depletion dedication when I am inviting you into rhythm. Stop using Jesus as a reason to ignore your humanity, when Jesus himself received the limits of human life without shame. He ate, he slept, he withdrew, he prayed, he walked away from crowds when the Father led him elsewhere. He lived fully obedient and fully human, and in him, you see, that holy purpose does not require holy exhaustion. Even sacred work must remain submitted to sacred rhythm. Let this become your pattern as you move toward practical obedience. You do not need to wait for collapse before you come away. You do not need to wait until your body forces the pause. You do not need to prove love by becoming constantly available. If Jesus honored rhythm within mission, you may honor rhythm within yours. If Jesus did not confuse urgency with obedience, you do not have to either. Let your yes come from my voice, not from guilt. Let your no be held by my peace, not by fear. Let your rest become part of your faithfulness, not an apology after overextension. Come away with me for a while, my child. Come away and learn the rhythm of the one who was never hurried, never empty, never ruled by demand, and always perfectly held in the Father's love. And now, my child, I am not only giving you a break from pressure, I am restoring the person pressure tried to reshape. I am reaching beneath the tiredness you can explain and touching the places where constant strain began to change the way you move through the world. I am tending not only to your schedule, not only to your tasks, not only to the obvious exhaustion in your body, but to the quieter losses you have not always known how to name, the tenderness that became harder to access, the creativity that used to rise freely but now feels buried under necessity, the patience that once came more naturally but now feels thin and easily spent, the joy that became delayed until everything was finished, the spiritual hearing that became muffled beneath noise, hurry, and decision fatigue, the desire that became difficult to recognize because survival kept demanding all your attention, the hope that grew cautious, the attention that became scattered, the ability to be present that pressure slowly drained from you. I have seen what pressure took from the inside. I have seen how much of you kept functioning while parts of you were quietly shutting down. I have seen you continue to answer, continue to serve, continue to show up, continue to carry, continue to manage, continue to smile, continue to perform steadiness. while something within you was becoming guarded. And I am not here to accuse you for that guardedness. I am here to heal it. A soul that has lived too long in survival often learns to protect itself quickly. It learns to scan for what could go wrong. It learns to brace before disappointment arrives. It learns to hurry even when no one is chasing it. It learns to respond before it has breathed, to decide before it has discerned, to protect before it has received. It learns to treat peace with suspicion because peace feels unfamiliar. It learns to treat good things cautiously because disappointment has trained it to wait for the cost. But my child, I did not make you to live permanently braced. I did not make you to carry tension as though tension were wisdom. I did not make you to confuse guardedness with maturity, reactivity with responsibility, suspicion with discernment, or constant alertness with faithfulness. There is a kind of hardness that does not come from rebellion but from exhaustion. There is a kind of impatience that does not come from lack of love, but from being stretched too thin for too long. There is a kind of numbness that does not mean your heart is dead, but that your heart has been overwhelmed and has been trying to survive. I know the difference. I know the difference between a heart that has turned away from me and a heart that has carried more than it knew how to hold. And I am speaking to the places in you that have carried too much for too long. I am softening what pressure hardened. I am replenishing what urgency emptied. I am returning peace where tension became normal. I am restoring tenderness without making you unsafe. I am restoring joy without demanding that you deny sorrow. I am restoring creativity without turning it into another burden to perform. I am restoring patience by restoring capacity. I am restoring hope by teaching your soul that disappointment did not have the final word. I am restoring desire by freeing it from the fear that wanting anything will only lead to loss. I am restoring your attention so you can see what is in front of you again. I am restoring your ability to be present, not only physically in the room, not only available in function, but truly there, awake to beauty, awake to love, awake to my nearness, awake to the life you have been moving through so quickly that you could barely receive it. Do not despise the gradualness of this restoration. Do not decide that nothing is happening because it is not happening all at once. Some healing comes like a sudden release. Yes, and I am able to meet you in one holy moment with tears, clarity, relief, and a peace that feels like it arrives from beyond you. But much of what I restore in the soul comes through repeated receiving, again and again, breath by breath, Sabbath by Sabbath, morning by morning, quiet pause by quiet pause. A small release today, a softer response tomorrow, a moment of laughter that surprises you, a prayer that feels less forced, a walk where your mind does not race as much, a meal you taste again, a conversation where you are present instead of only enduring, a boundary you keep without shame, a night of sleep where your body learns, slowly, that it does not have to stay on guard. This is not lesser restoration because it is gradual. Seeds grow quietly, wounds close in layers. Strength returns through nourishment, not through accusation. Your soul is not a machine that can be reset by command and immediately sent back into pressure unchanged. You are living, beloved, and living things are restored through care, through rhythm, through repeated contact with what gives life. So when you rest and still feel tired, do not call that failure. When you pause and still feel anxious, do not call that proof that rest is not working. When you receive peace for a moment, and then fear rises again, do not conclude that you missed me. You are learning a new way of being after being trained by pressure for a long time. Let me retrain you gently. Needing restoration does not mean you failed. Hear me clearly. Needing restoration does not mean you failed. It means I am tending to places that have been carrying weight. It means I am attentive to what you survived. It means I am not content to let you keep living as a smaller, harder, more guarded version of yourself. I am not ashamed of the parts of you that are tired. I am not impatient with the parts of you that are slow to trust. I am not disgusted by the parts of you that need time. I draw near to the weary. I restore the soul. I bind up what has been broken. I give oil of joy where heaviness has settled. I breathe on dry places until life begins to rise again. So bring me the hardness without hiding it. Bring me the reactivity without defending it. Bring me the numbness without fearing that I will condemn it. Bring me the impatience, the suspicion, the weariness, the loss of delight, the difficulty praying, the inability to feel present, the ache of wanting to care and feeling too drained to care well. Bring it all. I am not asking you to pretend softness before I restore it. I am not asking you to manufacture joy before I replenish it. I am not asking you to force peace before I return it. I am asking you to let me touch the places pressure has shaped. And as you let me, you will begin to recognize yourself again. Not the self that never suffered, not the self that never had limits, not the self that can be endlessly available and untouched by strain, but the beloved one beneath the pressure, the one who can breathe, the one who can hear, the one who can love without disappearing, the one who can serve without becoming hard, the one who can rest without shame. I am restoring you, my child, not merely giving you pause, but restoring your personhood, not merely interrupting pressure, but undoing what pressure tried to make permanent. Let me restore what was drained. Let me soften what was hardened. Let me return peace to the places where tension became normal. I am not finished with your tenderness. I am not finished with your joy. I am not finished with your hope. I am restoring you from the inside out. So begin here, my child. Begin before collapse. Begin before your body has to force what your wisdom would not protect. Begin before exhaustion becomes the only language loud enough to get your attention. Do not wait until you are empty to believe that rest matters. Do not wait until resentment rises, until your thoughts are scattered, until your prayers feel unreachable, until your body aches from being ignored, until joy feels distant and your soul feels thin. Rest becomes restoration when it is protected as a rhythm, not postponed until collapse. I am not asking you to overhaul your entire life in one dramatic moment. I am not asking you to create a perfect schedule that no human life could sustain. I am not asking you to perform rest as another achievement, another standard, another way to measure whether you are doing well enough. I am inviting you into small protected rhythms, repeated with faith, guarded with tenderness, and offered to me as obedience. Small rhythms matter. Hidden rhythms matter. 5 quiet minutes matter when they are received honestly. A breath before the phone matters. A pause between responsibilities matters. An evening boundary matters. A weekly block that is not filled with proving matters. Because these are not small things when they are the places where your soul learns that it is safe to stop. Begin with the morning pause. Before the phone. Before the messages. Before the alerts. Before the world begins telling you what it wants from you. Before comparison enters through a screen. Before urgency starts naming your day for you. Give me the first breath of your attention. Not because I am demanding a performance, but because your soul needs to be held before it is pulled. Sit for a moment. Place your feet on the floor. Breathe in slowly. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw loosen. Say something honest, not polished. Say, Lord, I am here. Say, I receive your mercy for this day. Say, lead me before pressure leads me. Say, I do not belong to urgency. Say, love me before I accomplish anything today. And then let that truth meet you before the demands do. This morning pause does not need to be long to be holy. It does not need music, perfect silence, perfect feelings, or perfect focus. Your mind may wander. Your body may still feel tired. Your emotions may not immediately soften. That does not mean it failed. You are not trying to manufacture a spiritual experience. You are turning toward me before you turn toward everything else. You are letting your day begin in belonging instead of reaction. You are letting my voice be first, even if softly first, even if briefly first, even if your heart is still learning how to be still. Then, protect the transition pause. Between responsibilities, do not carry one weight into the next without breathing. Do not move from one demand to another as though you are a machine passing from task to task without a soul. Before you enter the next room, answer the next call, begin the next assignment, pick up the next child, open the next conversation, sit in the car for 1 minute, stand at the sink for 1 minute, close your eyes before the next door opens, breathe, and release what belongs to the last moment. Say, Father, I give you what I cannot carry forward. I release the outcome. I release the tension. I receive grace for what is next. Teach your nervous system that every transition does not have to be rushed. Teach your heart that you do not have to drag all previous pressure into the next place I am sending you. And protect an evening window, my child. Not every evening will look the same, and I know the realities of your life. I know the responsibilities that do not disappear when the sun goes down. I know the people who need care. I know the work that sometimes stretches beyond what you planned. But choose a window, however modest, where the day is allowed to become unfinished in my hands. Let there be a time when you stop trying to repair the entire day. A time when you stop proving that you did enough. A time when you let the house, the inbox, the project, the unanswered question, the unresolved detail, the imperfect version of the day be held by me. This is spiritual, not merely practical. It is not only turning off work, it is turning toward trust. It is saying, I am not sovereign over the night. It is saying, you are God while I sleep. It is saying, I can be loved by you with things still incomplete. Sit without performing. Read a scripture slowly, not to check it off, but to receive it like bread. Let one verse hold you. Let my promise become larger than the pressure. Pray honestly. If you are tired, tell me you are tired. If you are frustrated, tell me without dressing it up. If you are afraid of what will happen if you stop, bring me that fear. I do not need your evening to look impressive. I want your heart to become able to rest in my presence. And once a week, protect one block that is not filled with proving. One block where you are not trying to earn worth, not trying to catch up, not trying to be seen as responsible, not trying to make your life appear more acceptable. A Sabbath-shaped block, a mercy-shaped block, a space where you receive, delight, breathe, worship, nap, walk, eat slowly, laugh, sit outside, read without extracting usefulness, be with people without managing an image, or be quiet without apologizing for it. Let there be one place in your week that declares, I am not held together by endless output. Let there be one block that tells your soul the truth. You are creature, not creator, beloved, not machine, received, not merely useful. You will have to protect this because pressure will always try to spend it before your soul receives it. Pressure will come with reasonable arguments. It will say, just this once. It will say, you can rest later. It will say, this is not a good time. It will say, you have too much to do. It will say, other people need you. It will say, you will fall behind. It will say, you can afford to skip this because it is not urgent. But my child, what restores you often will not feel urgent until it has been neglected too long. Do not let pressure spend what I am asking you to receive. Put rest where it can be protected. Name it, guard it. Treat it as obedience, not as leftover time. And when the first attempts feel uncomfortable, do not be surprised. When guilt rises, do not obey it quickly. When your mind races, do not call that proof that stillness is impossible. When rest feels inefficient, remember that your inner system has been trained by hurry, and training does not disappear in one moment. You are learning a new rhythm. You are teaching your body that stopping is not danger. You are teaching your mind that unfinished does not mean unloved. You are teaching your soul that I remain faithful when you are not producing visible results. If this is your act of surrender today, type these words in the comments. I trust God to sustain what I rest from. Let that be your declaration. Let it be public, not as performance, but as agreement. I trust God to sustain what I rest from. I trust Him with the unfinished. I trust Him with the unseen. I trust Him with what I cannot complete tonight. I trust Him with what my hands must release. Begin small, but begin protected. Begin gently, but begin truly. A morning pause, a transition breath, a protected evening window, one weekly block free from proving. These rhythms may look simple, but they are places where restoration can enter. They are openings in the wall pressure built around your life. They are invitations for peace to return. They are how your soul learns, little by little, that rest is not something you earn after depletion. It is something you receive because you are mine. And now, my child, hear the permission beneath all of this teaching. You may stop, you may breathe, you may receive. You may lay down what was never meant to be carried alone. You may pause without apologizing for needing the pause. You may let your hands open. You may let your shoulders drop. You may let the unfinished remain unfinished for a while, without turning that unfinished thing into an accusation against your worth. You may come to me weary, not after you have made yourself strong, not after you have organized your exhaustion into something acceptable, not after you have proven that you tried hard enough, but now, as you are, with the tiredness still in your body, with the pressure still in your thoughts, with the questions still unresolved, with the list still incomplete. I know the fear that rises when you consider stopping. I know the fear of falling behind. I know the calculation that begins in your mind, the quiet panic that says, if I rest, I will lose ground. If I pause, someone else will pass me. If I stop tonight, tomorrow will punish me. If I do not keep pushing, everything will fall apart. I know that fear. I know how convincing it can sound when responsibility is real and pressure is loud. But I want you to understand this. You are not trusting the absence of responsibility when you rest. You are trusting my presence in the middle of responsibility. You are not pretending there is nothing to do. You are acknowledging that I am God, even when there is still something to do. There is a difference between denial and trust. Denial says, nothing matters. Trust says, this matters, but it is not greater than you. Denial says, I will ignore what is required. Trust says, I will obey what you have given me, and I will release what you have not given me for this moment. Denial escapes. Trust rests. Denial refuses reality. Trust brings reality into my presence and lets me hold what your hands cannot hold without breaking. This is the rest I am inviting you into. Not carelessness, not avoidance, not abandonment of duty, not the neglect of love, but the sacred release that says, Father, I have done what you gave me grace to do today, and what remains, I place in your hands. Do not believe the lie that everything depends on your constant motion. I can redeem time. I can reorder priorities. I can show you what actually matters when your soul becomes quiet enough to hear me. Some things you thought were urgent will become clear as distraction. Some burdens you thought were yours will be revealed as pressure you were never assigned to carry. Some tasks you feared releasing will wait without collapsing. Some expectations will be exposed as human demand, not divine instruction. And some things that truly matter will become clearer, not because you rushed harder, but because you finally became still enough to discern. When you are always moving, everything can feel equally urgent. The important and the unnecessary begin to sound the same. The voice of guilt and the voice of wisdom can become tangled. The demand in front of you can seem larger than the direction within you, but rest creates room for clarity. Rest lets the noise settle. Rest lets the soul recognize what pressure has blurred. In rest, I can show you what to pick back up and what to leave with me. In rest, I can untangle obedience from compulsion. In rest, I can restore your ability to choose from peace instead of fear. So let me say it again, and let it go deeper than your resistance. Rest is not weakness. Rest is not failure. Rest is not defeat. Rest is not proof that you are behind, broken, lazy, or less faithful than those who seem to keep going without stopping. Rest is where I restore. Rest is where I return breath to the places that have been running on fumes. Rest is where I soften what pressure tightened. Rest is where I remind you that you are loved before you finish, loved before you answer, loved before you solve, loved before you produce, loved before you become useful to anyone else today. You may stop without losing my love. You may be still without becoming less valuable. You may sleep without becoming less spiritual. You may say no without being abandoned by me. You may leave the room, close the laptop, silence the notification, end the conversation, postpone the task, and come into my presence without fear that I will meet you with disappointment. I am not standing over your rest with suspicion. I am not measuring how quickly you return to work. I am not waiting to see whether you deserve restoration. I am the one calling you into it. Bring me what remains unfinished. Bring me the tasks that still pull at your mind. Bring me the names of the people you are afraid to disappoint. Bring me the guilt that appears when you try to breathe. Bring me the guarded heart that has learned to stay tense even in quiet places. Bring me the exhaustion you keep explaining away. Bring me the fear that if you loosen your grip, everything will scatter. Bring me the part of you that does not know how to receive without immediately preparing to give again. Do not clean it up first. Do not turn it into a better prayer before you come. Come with the scattered thoughts. Come with the clenched hands. Come with the shallow breath. Come with the tired eyes. Come with the unfinished list. Come with the ache of wanting rest and fearing rest at the same time. I can meet you there. I can meet you in the honest place. I can meet you before peace feels natural. I can meet you while guilt is still loud, and my voice can become louder. If you are ready to receive this permission, Type these words in the comments. I may stop without losing God's love. Let that become agreement in your own mouth. I may stop without losing God's love. I may breathe without shame. I may rest without fear. I may trust Him with what remains unfinished. Speak it until the anxious place in you begins to hear it. Speak it until the old accusation loses some of its authority. Speak it until your soul remembers that my love is not held hostage by your output. Now come closer, my child. Bring the exhaustion. Bring the guilt. Bring the unfinished. Bring the guarded heart. Bring the part of you that has been afraid to stop because stopping felt like failure. I am not calling you into emptiness. I am calling you into my presence. I am not asking you to abandon responsibility. I am inviting you to trust me within it. You may stop. You may breathe. You may receive. You may lay it down. And as you do, let this truth prepare your heart for prayer. What is unfinished is not outside my care, and the one who is weary is not outside my love. So now, my child, let this become prayer. Do not rush past this moment. Do not turn even this prayer into something you must perform correctly. Let your body become still enough to receive. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your jaw soften. Let your hands open if you can. Breathe slowly, and bring me the whole of your weariness. Bring me the exhaustion in your body, the crowding in your mind, the pressure in your schedule, the shame that has tried to attach itself to your need for rest. Bring me the part of you that has been trying to be strong for so long that receiving feels unfamiliar. I am here. I am here. Father, breathe peace over this weary body. Let every place that has been tense from carrying too much begin to receive your kindness. Let the muscles that have stayed guarded begin to soften. Let the chest that has held quiet panic begin to open. Let the nervous system that has lived on alert begin to learn safety in your presence. Let sleep become less like escape and more like trust. Let breath return. Let strength return. Let the body no longer be treated as an enemy to push past, but as a beloved part of the person you are restoring. Father, speak peace over this crowded mind. Quiet the loops that keep replaying what was not finished, what was not answered, what was not solved, what might go wrong, who might be disappointed, and how much still remains. Let the noise settle. Let the anxious calculations lose their authority. Let wisdom rise where panic has been speaking. Let clarity return where pressure has blurred everything together. Teach this mind to receive, one day at a time, one grace at a time, one obedient step at a time. Untangle discernment from guilt. Untangle responsibility from fear. Untangle your voice from the accusations that never came from you. Father, speak peace over the pressured schedule. Enter the crowded places. Enter the overfilled days. Enter the habits of saying yes when the soul is already depleted. Enter the fear of disappointing people. Enter the false urgency. Enter the places where life has become reactive instead of rooted. Give wisdom for boundaries. Give courage to stop proving. Give grace to say no without shame, to say yes from peace, and to recognize what has been assigned by you and what has only been demanded by pressure. Restore holy order. Restore spaciousness where there can be spaciousness. Restore honesty where denial has kept the pace unsustainable. Father, speak peace over the soul that has felt ashamed for needing rest. Silence the accusation that says rest is weakness. Silence the old voice that says love must be earned by constant usefulness. Silence the fear that says stopping will make this child less valuable, less faithful, less worthy, less secure. Let your truth rise louder. This child is yours. This child is loved. This child is not held together by output. This child is not abandoned when unfinished things remain. This child may stop and still be held. This child may breathe and still be beloved. This child may rest and still be within your will. And I declare restoration over what pressure drained. I declare clarity returning. I declare patience returning. I declare joy returning, not as forced brightness, but as a quiet stream rising again in the inner life. I declare tenderness returning without fear. I declare spiritual sensitivity returning, ears that can hear me again, a heart that can recognize my nearness again, a soul that does not have to strain to know it is loved. I declare courage returning. Not the courage to keep pretending, but the courage to live truthfully. I declare quiet confidence returning, the confidence that does not need to prove, rush, compete, or explain itself to every demand. Receive daily rhythms of rest. Receive morning mercy before morning pressure. Receive transition pauses before you carry one burden into the next. Receive evening release before the unfinished tries to become your master. Receive weekly rhythms of rest, where you remember that you are creature and I am creator, where delight is not wasted, where worship is not hurried, where your soul can breathe without needing to justify the breath. Receive seasonal rhythms too, my child. There will be times when deeper recovery is needed, times when your pace must change, times when wisdom will ask for more space than your pride wanted to admit. Do not resist the grace that comes in rhythm. The final response is not to try harder. Hear me deeply. The final response is not to try harder. It is to receive. Receive my rest. Receive my care. Receive my sustaining power. Receive the truth that restoration has already begun, not because you mastered rest perfectly, but because you turned toward me honestly. I am not waiting for you at the end of your strength with disappointment. I am meeting you here with mercy. I am restoring what pressure drained. I am returning what hurry scattered. I am teaching your soul that peace is not a reward for finishing everything. Peace is a gift from my presence. Now say this with me, slowly, not as empty words, but as agreement from the weary place that is learning to trust again. I receive your rest, Lord. I am not weak for needing restoration. I trust you to sustain what I release. Say it again. I receive your rest, Lord. I am not weak for needing restoration. I trust you to sustain what I release. Let this declaration settle into your body, into your mind, into your schedule, into your decisions, into the way you close the day, into the way you begin again tomorrow. If you need restoration from burnout, write your prayer requests in the comments. Bring them into the light. Let this become a place where weary hearts are not ashamed to ask for prayer. And if this message has spoken to you, comment these words: my rest is where God restores me. Let that be your declaration. Like this video, share it with someone who has been carrying too much, and subscribe for more messages that help weary hearts return to God's peace. Go now with permission ringing louder than guilt. You may stop, you may breathe, you may receive. My rest is already meeting you, and my restoration has already begun.